Hello and welcome. This is Sophia Jamal and you are watching Primetime with me at NTV Houston. Today we are going to talk about what is becoming normal for us. Every morning when we wake up, it used to be the normal norm that people used to look for their newspaper. Now in the most high-tech technology age, we look at our telephones and the first thing we see is, let's check out the news. Whatever happened while we were sleeping. And the moment we look at the news, we only see violent news. Few weeks back, it was Dayton shooting, it was El Paso shooting, and after that, all the cities are mourning. But what are we doing over here? Are we telling our newer generation that this is the new normal for us? That they should get immune to it? So shootings are happening constantly, but what are we doing about it as a society? And the gun deaths are becoming the new normal for us? This will be the topic of discussion today. I have a very interesting guest, very important for me. Thank you so much, Abdul Haleem Muhammad. You are a PhD in urban planning, leader in local nation of Islam mosque since 30 years. You are Mayor Turner's Anti-Gun Violence Commission. You have served on that. You're a community representative for MacArthur Foundation Grant Safety and Justice Challenge to reduce jail population. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You haven't heard about my introduction. Sure. I was just talking about what is becoming the new normal for us. So how do you look at it? Like when you wake up in the morning and you check out your news and you see just the death tolls. And this happened last night. For an example, before the recording, we were talking about the fact like something similar happened in Walmart in Southwest Freeway and near Southwest West End Houston Freeway, Parkway, I'm sorry. And another incident happened in Memorial Mall over the weekend. So people are just so scared, they are panicked, they are worried about their future. How do you look at this situation?
Well, first of all, let me thank you, Ms. Jamal, for having me on this program. And I want to wish all of my brothers and sisters from the Southeast Asian community, Eid Mubarak,
yes.
At the end of Eid.
Yes.
I want to wish them that. But first and foremost, how I look at it is that we're living in a traumatized society.
Yes.
If you go back to the 1990s, 'cause I've been in Houston since 1980, but if you look in the 1990s and you look at the murder rate or the violence rate now, it is literally 1/3 of what it was in the early 1990s. Oh. However, what is the perception? As you pointed out, when we turn on the television or we look at our smart devices, there's a saying in media, if it bleeds, it leads. So in spite of the fact that crime has flatlined or in fact gone down, we are constantly hit with the thought in mind that we're not safe. Yeah. The second thing that happens is that based upon that, politicians run for office and they ask their political consultants, what issue should I run on? Crime is always 1, 2, or 3 of those. So they, of course, run on that platform. So once again, we're told that we're not safe. And then our politicians go and some trying to reform the criminal justice system. They know that it is unsustainable as it is. We're locking up a generation of people that won't be able to come out because they have felonies. They won't be able to work. They won't have educational opportunities. They won't be able to pay into the system so that when you and I get older, they will not be able to fund the pensions or Social Security or contribute to the society. And lastly, we have to ask ourselves the question, there are vested interests in the prison industrial complex system. So for instance, if you and I want to go into partnership and become rich, maybe we should invest in the salt, sugar, and pepper contract for the jail. Because as long as the jail fills up, people have to eat and they'll have the contract. Yeah. So you have these vested interests that are invested in things as they are. And the approach, the solution, is the fact that we have to take a holistic approach. The society has now been traumatized. Yeah. We saw what happened in Dayton. We saw what happened in El Paso. And then the Muslim community, we've been traumatized since 9/11. We've been blamed for everything. And so we're traumatized. So victims of crime are traumatized. The police and law enforcement that have to go on these horrific scenes, car accidents, mass shootings, children being raped, incest, all these things, these human beings see these things day to day where you and I maybe aren't exposed to them. And lastly, even the perpetrators of crime come out of communities that are in trauma. So our discussion has to be a trauma-informed care conversation. And we have to include the public health aspect of it, law enforcement, but most importantly is family, which is very strong in the immigrant community, family and community. Our communities have to organize ourselves to make our own neighborhood safe and decent place to live, and to make sure that our wayward youth are put on the right path and understand that this is not the new normal.
Let me say it over here, Mr. Haleem, like the immigrant community has been hit and targeted. Now it is becoming a bad word if you even call somebody, oh, you're an immigrant. And the moment you hear it, oh, am I an immigrant? It gives a sense of insecurity, because like it's traumatic. Like when from the leadership we were told, like, go back to where you come from. So my question was like, okay, in that case, entire America will be empty, and there will be only land and sitting with the Native Americans. There will be nobody over here.
Right.
So, I mean, the trauma, I'm glad, like you pointed out so methodically, all types of traumas people are dealing with.
Sure.
But the immigrant trauma is the highest right now.
Sure.
So how do you look that trauma can be addressed?
Well, you have to deal with it specifically from the standpoint that America is a country of immigrants. That's what it is. And as you pointed out, of course, the Indians were the original people here. They got here about 16,000 years ago. If you told them to go back, they'd have to go up the Bering Strait and go back into Asia themselves. Yeah. So it's ridiculous to tell people to go back where they came from. What are we really talking about, Ms. Jamal? We're talking about Europeans telling everybody else to go back to where they came from. They don't want darker people. They don't want people from Asia or South Asia or from Africa or from the Caribbean.
Any color, Hispanics.
Let's call it like we see it. But if you do that, okay, you will rob America of her richness, because it is immigrants that have built the railroads. It is immigrants who made this country wealthy in terms of black people in hundreds of years of enslavement that took place. It is immigrants that came up with Steve Jobs, was a Syrian. He's of Syrian descent. Yeah. Many of our mathematicians, our Nobel Prize winners, are immigrants, or family of immigrants. Yeah. America wouldn't even have the atomic bomb if it were not for an immigrant that came here and helped them with it, when you talk about those who came over after World War II. So this country has been enriched by the people who have come from other lands here. So we have to stand up proudly. We're not going to bow our heads to anyone. We're going to stand up proudly and say that I'm here to contribute to this nation, and without me, this nation is not going to be great at any time.
No, I totally agree with you. It is a great nation. It's a great country. But there are certain situations when you're alienated. I'm not saying that like, there are a lot of white people, they don't believe on white supremacy or anything like that. They're very inclusive. They're very welcoming. They're open for anything, for any kind of collaborations and things like that. But you're Muslim. Let me ask you this question over here. God created this universe with love. The love was instilled in a mother and a child's relationship, in a parent and a child relationship. It is the strongest expression of all. But why does hatred and negativity hurt so much?
It is because in the universe itself, when Allah created the universe, He created a duality. There's a verse in the Quran in English. It says, in the alternation, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and the day, there are signs for men of understanding, parenthetically women too. So there are differences between the heavens and the earth, but there's a connection between the two. There's differences when it comes to night and day, the alternation of the night and the day, but they are connected one with another. And they are signs, though. They are signs, meaning we don't stop at the sign. We have to go to the root of what the sign represents. So what is the root of hatred? It comes in these words in which Iblis, the devil or the rebellious angel, said, I am better. See, when you think that you are better, I am better because I'm black, I am better because I'm white, I am better because I'm Muslim, I am better because I'm Christian, I am better because I'm male or I'm female or I'm rich or I'm this or that. When we think that we're better, then we take on a mindset that we forget who is the creator of us all.
Yeah.
And
The
when
supreme power.
There you go. And so when you begin to think like that, because now I'm law enforcement and I have the right to arrest you or kill you if you make a certain move, and I have that mindset that I am better, I traumatize you, and when I kill that individual or shoot that individual, I traumatize his family and the whole community. And when a policeman was shot, like was out by the airport in Los Angeles, a state trooper lost their lives, someone pulled out a gun and started shooting.
Yeah.
All the law enforcement is traumatized. The people who saw it were traumatized. So it's trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. At a certain point in time, we have to look at solving the root of it, which is human thinking and human behavior. We have to do that.
So why aren't people coming forward with that? I have been covering protest because recently I covered a protest in India and Pakistan with the Kashmir issue. We see Ilhan Omar being told go away. We see Dayton shooting. We see El Paso happening. We see in our own city memorial mall thing over the weekend, like somebody just said, I'm going to kill myself, and people panicked.
Sure.
So why? I mean, there are people like you and me are talking over here. We can make sense. Like, okay, somebody has to move forward and hold hands and say, calm down, everything will be okay. Why people are not doing that anymore? Why are they scared to do that when the love is the supreme power in place?
They're afraid because, as the Quran says, that evil has been made fair seeming. So we are living in a world where literally good appears to be bad or weak, and badness seems to be strong and right. So we're confused. We're confused and not understanding being able to distinguish one from another. So you and I sitting here and having this civil discussion about it, it's seen as, they're just talking. What are they going to do about it? Well, the question is that they put millions, if not billions of dollars in locking people up. We've got over 300 million weapons on the street of America.
Yeah.
India and Pakistan both developing atomic weapons, fighting over Kashmir. Okay, they couldn't live together after throwing off the colonial shackles of England. They decided they couldn't live together, so Pakistan separated in '47 from India. Okay, well, at that point, if you learned you couldn't live together at that particular point in time, now why are you enemies, and who benefits from India and Pakistan fighting?
With this kind of dispute. Let me take a very short break. We'll be right back. We're going to talk about why we cannot be all together and we can get all on the same platform and figure out the solutions. Because yes, it looks like a discussion, but we have to find a solution, and solutions lies within us. Stay tuned, keep watching NTV Houston with Sophia Jamal.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service, striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
Bump Promotion presents Idol Kid Diwane Cruise. Come on board and experience a mesmerizing journey with Manish Paul, Salman Ali, Nitin Kumar, Sachin Valmiki, Nilanjana Ray, Avanti Patel, Vibhor Parashar, Kunal Pandit, and Ankush Bharadwaj. Customized halal and Jain food. Call 1-877-600-5998 or visit www.jalbacruise.com.
Every day, law enforcement, firefighters, tow operators, and other emergency personnel risk their lives responding to calls for help. The move over or slow down law requires that you clear the lane closest to responding vehicles or reduce your speed to 20 miles per hour below the posted limit. Following this important law helps prevent crashes and saves lives. The next time you see flashing lights ahead, travel smart and move over or slow down. A road safety message from Houston TransStar.
Welcome back. Before going on the break, we were talking about all the hatred in the world. We were talking about the issue of Kashmir between India and Pakistan. We were talking about the Dayton shooting. We were talking about the El Paso morning. We were talking about all the hatred around us. Thank you so much, Abdul Haleem, for giving me the time again. Let's talk about criminal justice. So, a lot of bills have been passed. It has moved on to the state level. A lot of bills are in the process. They die every day or every week or so ever. No solutions have been found. So you're a PhD in urban planning. So there's so many people, and you know, like how America is growing, how Houston has grown. Houston is not the same city which it was 20 years back. There's so many people living here. There is a population outburst. So what are the solutions for these problems? Because I know, like you were saying before the break, people can easily say, oh, they're just having a discussion. They're just having a drawing room discussion.
Sure.
So what are the solutions? Let's point out on those solutions.
First of all, it is to make investment in the things that matter, that don't and not use criminal justice system as a default. Mm-hmm. See, again, if you look at the average prisoner in the Texas Department of Corrections, he has an 8th grade education. So somewhere along the line, we failed in our educational system, right? Mm-hmm. If you look at it from the standpoint of employability, the country has been deindustrialized. We have moved our factories overseas. First, they were moved from the inner city to the suburbs, and in the northern and Rust Belt states, they were moved to the south because of the lack environmental and labor laws, and then eventually they were moved out of the country. So there's no blue collar path to the middle class anymore, as it was before.
So it means President Trump is working on it, so it's the right thing to do? It is great for Americans because they will have employment with that.
It is in theory, but you're trying to compete against other countries who don't have the same environmental and labor laws that we have. And people can be paid at a fraction of what an American worker is going to be paid for. So in truth, it really isn't. The way to go is you have to have a 21st century approach to this. And we have to get involved in, of course, in the technological sector. However, if we look at the crumbling infrastructure that we have in America, there are jobs where you can earn 6 figures being a welder, being involved in construction, and all of those other trades that we seem to have given up for a 4-year either liberal arts or a 4-year degree. Everybody doesn't have to go to school for 4 years. Our cars still need to be fixed. Our air conditioning is still to be done. We need plumbing. We need electricity. We need all of those trades where people can literally make a good living getting their hands dirty. So our focus then has to be on both. All of our children won't necessarily go to college. They won't get advanced degrees. But many of us, I don't care whether we got a PhD or a master's degree, all of us need our air conditioning fixed. And I know many PhDs that don't know a thing about electricity or plumbing.
Oh, yeah.
Though they can write great papers and give great speeches and do other things, but they don't know.
You exactly pointed out an issue over here, because you're so right, because what has been observed actually, like a lot of people can just talk about things, but when it comes down to get down to real work, it's not there. Right. We can have all the discussions we want, but we know that our social system is not supporting for younger generation to go out and work and do something about it. It's so much easier to just make quick money. Everybody is in the race to make a quick and a fast buck, over here. So why is that? How can I mean, you have made a very valid point over here, like saying, let's invest in the community, because community involvement is not there. Right. But people don't have time. Even if you go to the restaurants and all that, you look at it, people are just busy in their phones. They're not interacting. They're not having any discussion. Even to watch my show, they're not going to click on the television like it used to be so many years back. Like the family used to sit in the sofa and watch the TV. Now it's your phone. It's in your hand. Keep watching whatever you want to watch. And that's why there are so many bigger internet channels are popping up. Like Netflix is, Hulu is. Like, I don't know. There's so many like... So they all have their apps, because you can just you can live in your own bubble, basically.
Sure. I want to say to my South Asian community, to the elders particularly who have come over from the old country, please hold on to the traditions of bringing the family together to eat around the table. Yeah. Even if it's once a week, make sure that you bring the family together and you sit down and you eat, put down the phones and have a conversation about what's going on. Social media in some cases have made us antisocial. It's a great tool,
Yeah,
but in some
it
cases
is
it's made answer. And then I want to quote the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, my teacher, who said that love is not a noun, it's a verb. Love is what you do, Ms. Jamal. It's what we do. So we have to demonstrate love now. And it begins, of course, with our families. The family, without a strong marriage, there cannot be strong families. And without strong families, there cannot be a strong community. So we must not adopt all of the folkways, norms, and values of America, get married, sleep around with different ones, get divorced, do all the things we see on these reality TV.
Yeah.
No, we must stick to those traditions that make us strong and keep us strong. And we must pass on those traditions from our native land, whether it be the stories of how our families came up, how they got to America.
And feel proud of it.
And be proud of it. There's nothing wrong with understanding the great struggle of the Pakistani people or the people together in India that threw off the colonial yokes and how they survived that. There's nothing wrong with lifting up your heroes and sheroes from the old country and then applying that same principle here in America so we make some new heroes and sheroes. They have to rise up. The young people in the community have to rise up now that they've gone to school here, they understand here, and they are acculturated to America. At the same time, though, they must never forget who they are and whose they are. This is coming from an African who was kidnapped from Africa, robbed of my name, my culture, my religion, my concept of God, my language. Everything was taken from us to enslave us like they are. So when you look at some of the aberrated behavior of black people in America, you say, what's wrong with them? They've been here all this time. Why can't they do what we do? It's because you have a foundation in your culture, your language, and everything that gives you a foundation. Our people are still searching for who they are and whose they are. I can tell you now through a DNA test what part of Africa I came from, but I can't tell you specifically what province, what city, what village that you might be able to tell me that you came from. And even if you're around, if Pakistanis or Indians and you're around and you start talking, they say, oh, you're from so-and-so. They'll know just by your dialect what part of Pakistan or India you're from, because everybody doesn't necessarily speak the same dialect or use the same words, even in the traditional language. It goes down to that. And when you rob somebody of their humanity, you can't expect them to act human. So this trauma has to be resolved. So when you hear discussion of reparations, I want the South Asian community to understand, no, we're not necessarily trying to tax you for what happened to us when you weren't here. But understand that America is a great nation, but she has to become good by doing justice to people. And if justice is done to my people and to the Native Americans, then it's easier to do justice for you and for the Latino people who are coming here or being picked on. We have to look at this thing and we're in this thing together. And there's an old saying that comes that only a fool fights in a burning house. And right now, America's on fire. And if we're fighting one another, we won't notice that the house is on fire.
The house is burning down. That is a great point. But for the repatriation, there is an argument over here, which I have been talking to people, and they claim, oh, because they want to get paid and because it's a capitalist society, everybody has to work hard to achieve what they have. So how do we put repatriation? How will that be focused? Because I was reading through Obama, like he has given this explanation for not approving the bill, saying like there will be trillions and zillions of dollars will be going in the system, and they don't know whom should get paid for whatever atrocities happened 400 years back. So what is your theory? How can this be worked out? Because don't forget, capitalism was created in the United States.
Okay, well, actually, I'll say that capitalism may have prospered in the United States.
Very well,
okay,
yes.
May have prospered in the United States. I'll put it like this. You know, if I stole your computer, right, and I gave it away to somebody else, it's still your computer. My people were stolen. The land of America was stolen from the Native Americans. And people are here, 300 million people are here that thought they had nothing to do with it, but they're the beneficiaries of it. They have stolen property. I'm stolen property. I'm proof of stolen property, and the Native Americans' land is proof of that. And even the land we're sitting in is really northern Mexico. So when you look at the history of America and its war and how it took people and land from other people, okay, so here we are now in 2019. For us, it would be, give us some of this earth we can call our own. Give us some land and education and the means to utilize that land to feed, clothe, and shelter ourselves. This would be the basis of a real discussion about reparations. It's not about you write me a check, because if you wrote me a check, I don't manufacture anything. I don't produce my own clothing, my own shelter. So if you gave everyone a $100,000 check, I would wind up giving it back to the very people who wrote me the check, because I don't control anything. But if you ceded me enough land where I could support myself, or those who wanted to come and support themselves, I have the same mindset that the founders of Pakistan have. I have the same mindset that the founding fathers of this country and this state have. That if I can't get freedom, justice, and equality within the social, political, and economic order of America, then give me something so I can start on my own. Otherwise, this conflict is going to get out of hand.
Mr. Haleem, that's another complete topic for a discussion, which I'll be inviting you again. But they have been telling me I have to wrap up the show. But before finishing up the show, we will be definitely doing a show about reparation as well, because this needs further more discussions about it, and I need to be prepared for that as well. But before finishing up my show over here, I would like to thank you for joining me today. And he has pointed out a beautiful thing, that love is a verb. It means like you have to work towards it. So it means we have to work towards our community. We have to invest in our community. We have to bring our family values together and move it and push it out towards the community. And that's how we can find a kind of a world which we all think exists for us. And when we think as humans, the God has given us the power, like whatever we think will come into existence and will become reality. We'll have further more discussion. Stay tuned. This is Sophia Jamal. You are watching NTV Houston. But today, that would be all. Thank you so much for watching.